Hello,
I'm Ed.
I'm Will.
And this is the DC Corner. We've been sort of waiting a while for Convergence to get done.
Waiting.
And it's finally through. Here's sort of where we are going into the first week of the post-New 52 world, because they no longer call it New 52, by the way. Partly because there's not 52 books anymore. But
Well, isn't this technically also the new 52? I mean, or just the
not even 52, so they can't even call it. They're just calling
RE:space new 52?
Actually, they're calling it the DCYOU. That's their new part. Yeah. That's an unfortunate
They've been getting their
marketing.
marketing tips from Nintendo.
That's about it. Anyhow, where we're left here is that all the worlds still exist, although they have been updated somewhat. Like the old Earth 2 Justice Society is now the present Earth 2.
But that's not somewhat when you go back and change the ultimate reset button, the first reset button that ever was, and go and changing that ending, therefore erasing literally everything that happened since then until now.
Actually, they went back and reset the first Crisis on Infinite Earths.
That's what I was talking about.
The whole thing. Yeah, gosh.
And that means everything from there to now didn't exist. Now, the worlds that they are involved in still exist,
right?
But the events that caused them don't exist anymore. Which is sort of a timey-wimey ball thing, but maybe it's just me being picky.
There's a little genius to this, though, in that now they literally can choose whatever they want from any continuity and say it works.
Which means that they can actually afford to be creative instead of having everything be the house style with the house storyline, in the house.
And that part's good. In some respects, I'm taken back to the Silver Age when I was reading comics for 12 cents. Because back then, what happened in one book didn't necessarily affect another book. We're already seeing...
But back then, they didn't feel the need to write well.
True. Well, yeah, a lot of the stories wouldn't hold water. Some of them do. But not all of them. But here's the thing. Even in the first week of comics, we're seeing at least 3 different versions of Superman. You've got the one in the T-shirt with less powers in Action Comics. You've got the regular Superman fully powered in full uniform in Justice League. And then you've got sort of the Cyborg taken over by Brother Eye version in Batman Beyond.
It's not Cyborg, but you can't really call it Cyborg Superman unless it's Cyborg Superman.
You got a point. But anyhow, it's a very different Superman. So you've got different Superman, you've got different versions of Jimmy Olsen depending on the book, different versions of Batman depending on the book. And it's okay because they're in different parts of the multiverse, which allows people to do no longer, like you said, no longer a house style of writing, no longer a house style of art. And there's a little something for everybody, and I hope that part works.
But I don't know why they didn't do this before, because they set up the multiverse explicitly to do this, then only to turn around and go, we're only going to focus on these universes, we are only going to do these storylines, and we're going to focus on these characters, and we cannot deviate from that, even though we have an entire multiverse to play with.
And now, thankfully, they've woken up to that. So kudos to DC for that. The first week is out. Some of the books are okay, some of them are not. And at the same time, we've got to admit, a lot of the books are not necessarily geared for one demographic, so that part's cool.
But that's just sort of an excuse, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it's sort of.
I mean, we can say that we're not part of the demographic, but we can still appreciate something like.
Well, good writing is good writing. Good art.
I mean,
is good art.
I still appreciate Sesame Street, even though I'm not the demographic for it.
And outside of DC, I like Lumberjanes, although I'm definitely not the demographic for that.
So demographics can't really be an argument here.
Fair enough. If we're going to recommend a book out of the group...
Well, you go first.
Out of the group, I sort of liked BAT-MITE. I know you didn't care for BAT-MITE as much. Batman
It's not that I didn't like it. It was just okay. And I kind of expected more than okay.
I got you there. The art style was classic BAT-MITE.
Right.
But I like that.
But narrow it down. What would you recommend?
I'm waiting to see what Justice League turns into. I know you didn't get a chance to see that one. Green Lantern was pretty okay. Batman Beyond, I'm torn.
One. We're cutting the rest.
Batman Beyond.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing with Batman Beyond. The good news is it's Batman Beyond in the main DCU. Yay. Bad news is it's not Terry McGinnis, although it's Tim Drake.
Which didn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah. The other part is, to bring them into the DCU, what they've done is tacked them into the end of what I thought was a rather regrettable series, Future's End, where Brother Eye is taken over. Only in this version of Future's End, Gotham was not destroyed. You have Neo Gotham. So what they've done is sort of set up a double story here. You've got Neo Gotham shielded from Brother Eye, where you can tell traditional Batman Beyond stories with the Joker's gang. And then you've got the greater
Well,
world.
there's more than just the Joker's game.
Well, but with other stories. And they're going to bring some of the other guys in, like Ink.
Oh, Ink.
Ink will come in. So some of the other characters will come in. But then you also got this greater Brother Eye-controlled world where you've got the robotic versions of Superman, Wonder Woman, all the heroes who were taken over by Brother Eye at the end of Future's End that they're going to fight. And the overarching timeline is, or storyline is, how does the new Batman Beyond reverse this? Somehow reverse Brother Eye's hold on the rest of the planet.
Which means none of this matters.
Yeah. So...
and that always bothers me with time stories, in that they're trying to right what once went wrong. But in the end, that means everything that your journey here is erased for that new save file, and it's just...
Well, here's my biggest question for Batman Beyond. Terry McGinnis died heroically in Future's End, so Tim Drake, an adult Tim Drake, took his place. Yeah, now, but if Tim Drake is successful and stops Brother Eye, does that mean that Terry McGinnis never died and is in the Batman Beyond?
And does that mean that that there's still a Tim Drake out there with the Joker chip in his neck?
You got a point.
Because if you're not familiar, in the Batman Beyond movie, the Joker came back, and of course would be impossible. And the twist ending was that it was Tim Drake with a microchip implanted into him.
So there are some things that come from the animated version of Batman Beyond into this, and there are some other things that they have changed. Obviously Terry McGinnis to Tim Drake, but other things
they got rid of the entire Justice League.
Yeah, and now you've got... That's true, the Justice League Beyond is nowhere to be seen in here.
Nowhere to be seen. But I noticed that they kept the original Superman design, where because he had a new outfit in the new Batman
that
Beyond.
sort of black and white one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was reminiscent of when he didn't have powers back in the.
It was sort of a
back in the Death of Superman, where he came back but he didn't have powers.
Yeah, it was sort of a mashup of that and Kingdom Come in some respects.
Yeah.
But the point here is that's not there, but there's also a somewhat slightly de-aged Barbara Gordon, not completely de-aged.
Yeah, and it sort of bothers me a little bit and that was Superman 2, because with the design, with the Batman Beyond one, if I recall correctly, they had some gray around the coif, that little swirl that Superman has, and Barbara Gordon was noticeably older. But these weren't detriments. These were just parts of the character, and it feels a little cheap to take away that aspect to de-age them for whatever purpose, but I don't...
Now, Barbara Gordon is definitely adult and older than she is in present continuity.
And a bit more cynical.
But at the same time is not what she was in the animated version. So we'll see where it goes here. And then
I was also disappointed that they called this one character Nora, but I'm like, why are they calling Maxine Nora? That is clearly Maxine. And if Nora's been in other comics, Maxine. I haven't met her before. And apologies if she's been in other continuities, I'm just not aware of it. But then we have Maxine show up at the the lodge,
yeah,
and they lightened her skin, and I'm hoping that it was maybe just the lighting choices, and the
lighting choices of the scene. There was some odd lighting for that scene for all the characters.
It would be very disappointing if one of the characters from my childhood that I liked very much had her skin lightened for no discernible reason.
Right. So we're going to wait and see what
I don't really think
issue.
I don't really think there is a good reason for it.
There's not. So we'll have to see what happens.
I don't know what the excuse is, but I'm hoping this was just a one-time mistake, because honestly, this would upset me very much if Maxine had her character skin lightened.
All this being said, we can give sort of a conditional okay for Batman Beyond out of the grouping here. Now, I will tell you...
I will say that Batman Beyond has potential,
it does.
But the first issue was entirely build-up.
There was one other book you said had potential.
Bat-MITE. Bat-MITE has potential, but honestly, I expected more out of it. And maybe it was just my high expectations. I will admit that I expected a lot.
Because we were really looking... Now, here's the thing. This is the difference, and it may be a generational difference here, because for me, it was a lot of old Warner Brothers style humor. It was certainly the art style of Batman that I liked, mixed with some Warner Brothers animation style art. So there were some things I liked about it. It was sort of warm and funny, but it wasn't blow you away funny.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like if they took... Oh, what was his name? The Chicken Hawk. The little tiny one.
Oh. Yeah, from the Warner cartoons.
Yeah, it's like if
The one that was with Foghorn Leghorn that was always
yeah,
going to try to.
it's
take
like
him
if
in.
they didn't. It's like they didn't put him with. It's like Batman leaves very early in the issue, and they take away any straight man for the comedic foil that is Bat-Mite, and so it ends up with an effect like Deadpool if they took out the comedy but still tried to make jokes.
Now, the thing here that gives me some hope for Bat-Mite is what they're going to do is basically set him up with different characters from the DC universe as his straight man. I think they're going mixed with Hawkman.
Yeah.
But there will be a lot of different ones. The main cover for it actually had a throwback that for an old guy like me was really cool to see a little panel of the Inferior Five, and I don't know if they'll really bring it back
honestly,
or not.
I'm very excited to see if they bring in the Inferior Five.
I would love to see the Inferior Five.
And I have to admit, I was expecting more of a Fairly Odd Parents kind of format where Bat-Mite does actually uses his powers to help people.
I didn't see as much power being used there. I mean,
Yeah,
he was but that was about it.
I expected him to abuse his power as much as Mixlick-Piddlick.
Yeah.
And there's almost nothing. He flew a little bit, and he's susceptible to like sleeping gas for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre given that he doesn't have a human physiology. He just kind of looks human.
So we'll see what comes out of it. But there was some potential there. Although the good thing here is that for me, it's like, it's Bat-Mite.
Well, I loved Bat-Mite too.
Yeah.
I loved Bat-Mite before you even told me what Bat-Mite was. I saw him in a bookstore, and I asked you what Bat-Mite was because he looked interesting. And
he is. So we'll see what comes out of the rest of it. Now, other stuff.
We did Midnighter too, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Midnighter, again, another comic with potential, but I feel like a lot of the action scenes were done with too close of a point of view on the action. And with the panels on panel...
that's where the camera zoomed in too close?
Yeah, to clearly tell what's going on. And the way that they use some of the colors also sort of blends together with some of the action. And while I liked the panel on panel thing, where you get to see some of the internal, bones breaking and stuff, and it's a decent effect, but the way that it's done comes with no warning, and it kind of was discombobulating. And I kind of didn't know. I had to read the same page twice to know what was going on.
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's the same person, not Midnighter attacking two people at once. And I like that they go with the willing anti-hero, where he's not, constantly brooding over, oh, I want to be a hero, but I'm not the hero they want, but I'm the hero they deserve.
Right.
And
he just likes breaking bones.
But at the same time, he gets a little one note after a while. And it comes off as a bit shallow.
This is a character who, when he first appeared, was paired up with Apollo, and there was a nice dichotomy.
Now, Apollo, is he from the New Gods?
No, different Apollo. This was from the Wildstorm universe, but at the same time, it's sort of like you sort of miss that pairing of the two together, but we'll see what Midnighter does, and it does have potential. It really is. It's a more brutal, violent book, but that's on purpose. It's the type of character that Midnighter is. And we'll see.
But again, that violence sort of gets one tone after a while, and it can be a little tiresome for people. I mean, if you like pure action, and
this would be your book.
This is your book, but it just wasn't my book for that. But there were other issues that are sort of universal.
Right. So besides that, if you really want to catch some other things, Justice League does start the Darkseid anti-Monitor war. Batman 41 picks up with the new James Gordon in the mecha suit Batman. Which we'll see how that.
Why is he in the mecha suit?
Batman is supposed to have died in issue 40.
Oh, I thought he got his back broken again.
No. He supposedly has died. Although somehow in this anti-Monitor war, he comes back reborn as as a new god type character. We'll see.
Of course.
But Detective comes back with Renee Montoya now as Harvey Bullock's partner. That's going to be cool.
Wait, she wasn't the Question anymore?
She hasn't been since the New 52, so at least we got her in here back in continuity.
I'm so out of touch.
Yeah. Earth 2 Society #1 comes up. Gotham Academy picks back up.
Thank goodness.
Harley Quinn and the Gang of Harleys.
Finally!
Yes. Starfire #1 from the same crew that did Harley Quinn.
All right, it should be exciting.
And they're having her move to Key West trying to find herself. There's a lot of... It's going to have a similar tone in some respects to Harley Quinn, except without quite as much death and destruction. We'll see.
All right.
Anyhow... That's it for right now. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, we're going to have a new podcast that'll be in addition to the DC Corner. And this one will be the two of us with Comics Generation Gap, where we get to talk about some things not DC, Starting out talking a little bit about digital comics and web comics and their impact on print. So we'll talk a little bit about that very soon. Also, what's already out, is part of the Crystal Gemcast.
Yep, the analytical Steven Universe podcast.
And if you're into Steven Universe at all, you really need to check this one out. It's very cool.
My co-host has a really great voice. You should watch just for that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, really, really good voice. Anyhow, check that out. And sooner or later, we're going to bring the Comics Week in Review podcast back. Also, there's our buddies Nick and Joe are planning to set up a Marvel oriented podcast called Armchair Avengers, and that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we got a lot coming your way, and as always, keep checking TM Stash for all the latest news, reviews, and commentary. Thanks a lot, guys.